Today, with all that's going on in the world, thankfully, the Biden administration has announced the first ever national gender strategy. Also, the Washington Post says parents do not have a right to have a say in their children's curriculum. I have a feeling, just a feeling, that the two gentlemen at our table will have something to say about this. We've got a lot more coming up, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by my two favorites. I think your two favorites as well. BlazeTV contributors, Jaco Booyens, host of the Jaco Booyens Show, and also Eric July, host of For Canon's Sake, also known as Young Rippa 59 on the interwebs. Yep. So,
you're my two favorites.
Oh my gosh,
nice.
Thanks. Thanks. Well, I mean, really, the audience raves about you guys, and it's funny because whenever one of you is gone for like several days at a time, which is just like, you guys are contributors, which is great, but this is not your only job. Right. You're gone for like maybe 2 days, and they're like, where's Jaco? Where's Eric? Where are they? Why aren't they on? Like, okay, I promise I have them on as often as possible.
It's humbling.
Calm down.
But we're happy to be here.
Yes, we're happy to have you. And I think it's a good day for you guys to be here. Not that every day isn't a good day for you guys to be here. So the Biden administration, you know, amidst all of this, all of the chaos going on in the country right now, we have inflation happening. We have the pandemic that is still going on, of course, because everyone hasn't gotten their 10 millionth booster. And as soon as you get your 10 millionth booster, you will eradicate COVID, so they say. But as all of these things are going on, the Biden administration is focusing on something way more important, which is a national gender strategy. So Kamala Harris tweeted out, President Biden and I released the first ever national gender strategy. This is our vision for the future of our nation, one that is bold in strategy and one that this moment calls for. This plan calls for. You may be wondering, well, what is this bold strategy? So it is, they want cemented abortion rights, of course, because nothing says national gender strategy, gender equality, like being able, well, I mean, I guess they're asking to kill both genders equally. So maybe that's what they mean by all of that. But a push for more women in the U.S. military, no thank you. And closing the gender wage gap, although there is no evidence that the gender wage gap is due to some sort of, you know, equal input, not equal output.
That's right. But
hey, what do I know? So these are just some of the things that they are talking about. They want national paid family leave, you know, affordable quality health care, which, as I said, they mean abortion, but they always want to say that it is health care for women. They want health care, affordable health care. Really, they just want to be able to kill their babies for free, if we can be honest with you. Help achieve global equality for women. At least finally, they're talking about global equality, although I haven't ever seen the Biden administration nor Democrats in general call out the countries that need calling out when it comes to women's equality, when it comes to certain countries that are still like throwing gay people off of buildings. Typically, we don't try to achieve global equality. We typically will just like partner up with them in some UN council. So maybe that will finally help achieve some actual global equality. I will say they also say, Jaco, they also say promote reform of laws in other countries that discriminate against women and combat human trafficking. I'd love to get your comments on whether or not that will actually happen. What do you think?
Listen, you just in like 2 minutes or whatever it was destroyed the Biden administration single-handedly.
To be fair, it's not hard.
And you just killed the 5 on Fox, who's lame. I'm just sitting here going, keep going, keep going. They're not going to do nothing about human trafficking, but here's what they've always done. Clinton did it, Obama did it. Oh, we're going to fight human trafficking in these other countries. But we're going to traffic kids on our border. I was on the border last week. Oh, we're going to have kids sexually exploited in our classrooms. But we got no problem here. We're going to do it in other countries. Look, isn't it ironic that from the same camp, the group, the school of thought that goes, oh, there's no male and female. Oh, you can't say man and women in Congress, but we need women's rights, Eric. We need
a
women's
great point.
equality.
It is
We
hard
need
to keep
pay.
up.
All of a
Yeah.
sudden, now there's women. Now
Yeah.
you're a woman. I thought there's no gender. I thought tomorrow you could be a dolphin. I thought you could just do whatever you want. Now all of a sudden is that. Oh, and by the way, can we just, for the record, say that over 60% of the babies killed in the womb are girls, and over 50% of those girls are black girls, okay? So, hey, we want to kill black girls. You need to let us do that, okay? But we're for their rights, we promise you. But we're not for the rights of the kid that's being sex trafficked in our country, because that doesn't happen over here, because his son's doing it, okay? No, we got to go to kids in the other countries. Like, what is it? Are there men? Are there women? Are there not?
That's a great point. This whole thing has become very confusing if you take the word that they used like literally last week.
Yep.
Eric, it was International Pronouns Day, right? And now,
yeah, that's right.
And it's like
State
they,
Department.
them. Yeah, I can't keep up with all of these things. And now we're back to men versus women.
Look, this is just yet another example of how idiotic sort of these radical egalitarian nonsense that these guys put out there to act as if individuals aren't individuals, to act as if there's no differences between men and women, except when they can try to point to some sort of, I don't know, fuzzy up numbers that they make up really on the dot to say that there's some sort of inequality that exists because there's some bad thing actually happening when it's not. It's funny they mentioned particularly the military. I don't know if they're going to talk about women being drafted or what that actually entails there. That's going to be very interesting. But when you consider what a lot of people, especially conservatives, think of what the military actually is, that doesn't seem rather conducive. But to be fair, that's representative of really everything it is that they talk about on this subject matter, where nothing's about merit and everything's about what box can be checked, and trying to conjure up some weird narrative or conjure up some weird situation in which exists equal representation among all individuals, proportionate, and sometimes it's not even proportionate to whatever the demographic is or representation is regarding the United States population. That is an impossible thing, and I need people to understand that. So anybody that leads with that is talking out of their behind. It's like the great Thomas Sowell once said, the same man isn't equal to himself on different days. So you can't look at some like disparity that exists and say, well, there means that there's some sort of wrongdoing. Not to say that there may not be, but to say you can't point to a disparity alone, because some are naturally and voluntarily arrived. And to them, that is not a thing. So they go issue to issue. Doesn't matter what it is.
Contradicting the
Yeah,
other
it doesn't
issue.
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, go issue to issue. They can be a hypocrite in the same sentence. It doesn't matter. But they go issue to issue because they know that there's a bunch of stupid American people that fall for this nonsense that say, well, there's some sort of disparity that exists, therefore there must be a wrongdoing. And here comes the government to come save you. And usually, as it always is, it's just an excuse to steal money from
Rent
people
money.
Yeah.
and then line up the pockets of their folks and to throw money at some given ridiculous, I don't know, like program or something of a bunch of academics with fake jobs, so they get lined up to feel like they're useful. It's just money laundering. That's all it is.
Yeah, and it is very frustrating as a woman, specifically to keep hearing about the gender wage gap, and they don't want to take into account that women, generally speaking, are the ones who take more time off for the children. And we've got doctor's appointments to take them to, and we've got to go pick them up from school. And when they're sick, we have to stay home. And, we are not putting in, generally speaking, the same work as men. I'm a mom. I know this. The difference is that I'm not only willing to admit it, I want to embrace it, because I am the mother. Of course I'm going to take more time for my kids. Of course I'm going to be the one to handle all of that stuff. I'm their mother. That's what my primary role is. I find it very sad that all of these feminists, all of these women's rights activists want to toss that part of the equation aside, as if the kids are not, more important than the pay that you get from the job. I want to get your thoughts, Jaco. I know you look like you have something to say here, but I also want to throw in something else into this, because the same thing that we were talking about here, Eric, you're talking about there is always going to be disparity, but what is the root cause of it? Is it always because of some sort of discrimination? No. Well, the Biden administration seems to disagree with you, because that's what they're doing at all points in time now, is just appointing people to find out why we have disparity, to combat disparity, to make sure, because it must be because of sexism and racism and homophobia and transphobia and all of these other things. So now there's a woman by the name, I'm sorry, I just said woman, a woman by the name of Janis Bowdler, who will now serve under Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen.
Who belongs in prison, by the way.
Will now
She's
serve.
She works for criminals.
As the Treasury Department's first counselor for racial equity. So this is, yes, exactly. So Secretary Yellen said, I've appointed Janis Bowdler to serve as Treasury's first counselor for racial equity, charged with coordinating Treasury's efforts to advance racial equity, including identifying and mitigating barriers to accessing benefits and opportunities with the department. Guys, the civil rights movement was a long time ago. I can't think of one thing that one race has access to that another race does not have access to. There are very specific laws prohibiting that. And still, here we are, the first counselor for racial equity, not like in a private business, not, in some local town where they've gone bonkers. The Treasury Department of the United States of America, guys.
In South Africa, this exact position under a different title was created the minute before affirmative action came in. And I said it months ago, watch, it's coming. And it's coming from State Department. They're going to pick players, winners and losers. I want to say that, number one. And I want to get back to something you said earlier. The same administration that's now telling you they're going to stand up for women's rights is the administration that sent $1 billion to the Taliban, who abuse women left, right, and center, who marry off their 8-year-old children, who has, sexual relations with kids at 8, 10, 12. The hypocrisy is so insane. You're right. You're calling it so accurately. It is issue by issue, as if it's a brand new day, it's a single issue.
Yep.
So we're a single issue nation today, and we can say whatever we want, right? They don't care about women one lick. And by the way, Jordan Peterson has an incredible program that he does on this supposed pay gap, right? We actually go hour to hour, right? There's no gap, right? The toughest job on earth is the job of being a mother.
Yes.
And when there's a mother sitting at the table, also working, also running a business, that is like insanely awesome and impressive, right? But there's no gap. There's no glass ceiling.
No, we've just signed up to do the most important job in the world that happens to you don't get paid for.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just part of the deal. If I got paid for all of the work that I did as a mother, I would be so rich, I would not even be working here right now.
Billions and billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars. So, Eric, I want to get your thoughts on this specifically. So I just thought of this as we were talking, Yaku was talking, and I just looked up a picture of Janis Bowdler because I just wanted to see what she looked like, because she did say in a statement, I have spent my entire career working in solidarity with Black, Latinx, AAPI, Native communities, and other communities of color to dismantle the structural and institutional racism that perpetuates the racial wealth divide. Now, I don't want to presume, but I don't think that she is Black or
that ain't no Black woman.
Yeah,
if that's her,
Latinx, however we're saying.
She's milky.
I would, again, I don't look. I get called a white passing Hispanic all the time.
Virtue signaling.
But I'm just saying,
I don't know.
if they really, not saying it's right, but if they really cared about this kind of stuff, why is it always coming from old white people?
Look, this, it's funny that they talk about this among their own as if they have to exist.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand. Janet Yellen is arguably one of the most criminal people, or works for one of the more criminal sides of this institution that we look at when it comes to the United States government, and her working in combat. Really, the Treasury as well as the Federal Reserve are crooks, right? They if you wonder why, you talk about inflation and you talk about all these other issues, that fort is being rather manned by both Treasury and the Federal Reserve. Where Ron Paul said in the Fed, which is what I'm, of course, pushing for, is if they don't need to exist. So it's weird to see a bunch of criminals speak among themselves as if they have to be there and to say, hey, look at us, we're adding some person to be a part of our department so we can figure out what type of weird stuff is going on.
We're here to help. We're here to help minorities.
If you're here to help, get the hell out of the way. Quit.
Yeah.
Quit, or matter of fact, I do you one better. Abolish your entire department and then get up out of there.
Yeah.
If you actually want to sit up here and help. See, these guys never. It seems they never look at the government in itself and its mere existence as an actual problem that could actually be the solution. They never look at that like, okay, maybe we're a part of the issue, so maybe we should get out of the way. So they never go attack those actual issues. We're talking about institutional racism. It's not like they're talking about licensing. State controlled licensing where a black woman can't braid hair legally because she doesn't have a license, which is stupid as I don't know what. They don't look at those types of things. They don't look at these different forms of regulatory bodies as well as taxation. They don't ever look at that. It's never looking at themselves and what they have, or rather their institution has for decades, caused in terms of an issue. They never look at that. It's all right, well, some other issue that y'all created. So here we come to try to solve it. Yeah, you really want to solve some problems, get the hell up out of the way.
I think she's there to find something. That's what they did to Gruden. We're going to go investigate something.
Sounds about right.
And then they go to the rest of the NFL. No, 600,000 other emails. Nope, nothing else to see here. Just that guy. She's probably there to go cause some drama and some trauma.
I would not be surprised one bit. All right, we've got more to come. But first, we want to thank our sponsor of this segment, Home Title Lock. So, we talk about big government bureaucracy all the time. How does this sound? The Social Security Administration's computer servers are almost 50 years old. Does that shock you at all? Does that shock you one bit?
Sounds like the government.
Yeah, exactly. So it was very easy when cyber criminals went on and hacked the U.S. Census Bureau and all of their computers. It was very easy because the computer systems are 100 freaking years old. They're definitely stealing all of your tax money, not using any of it to upgrade their system and make sure that they are protecting your information. All right, it's a big risk, but let me tell you what's a bigger risk on top of that is when those same cyber criminals go online and take over ownership of your home. It is called home title theft. It is one of the fastest growing crimes, according to the FBI. They do it the same way. They go on to, a database online where copies of your home's title is stored, and they can forge your signature stating you sold your home to them. Then they borrow on your home. They can just deplete your entire retirement nest egg, that equity you have in there, and leave you in debt. You're not going to know it until it's too late. All right, you got to protect your most valuable asset. You can go to HometitleLock.com. All you have to do is register your address to see if you are already a victim. They will tell you. They will let you know. Use promo code radio. You can get 30 free days of protection. That is HometitleLock.com. Promo code radio. HometitleLock.com. Virginia Democratic gubernatorial candidate Terry McAuliffe accused Republican Glenn Youngkin of trying to ban Black authors from schools. Now, that on its face sounds very, very problematic. You're trying to ban Black authors from schools. What a racist, right? Well, what actually happened is McAuliffe said that Glenn is spending his final days of the campaign focused on banning award-winning books from schools and silencing the voices of Black authors. I know we can read between the lines and see these Trumpian dog whistles for what they truly are. On November 2nd, we must reject these politics of hate and divisiveness, but we can't do it if you don't get out and vote. Now, he actually is alluding to these books that, yes, Glenn Youngkin had a problem with. They are called Genderqueer and Lawn Boy, both of which parents in all of these school systems have complained about because they contain graphic images inappropriate for adolescents' eyes. I want to get your thoughts on this, both of you. I know that you both have very specific thoughts about the school system and how you feel about the public school system.
Just a little bit.
Yes. But he, of course, responded, Glenn Youngkin, and said, this lie is beneath you, even you, Terry. Washington Post fact checker on 9/30/21. McAuliffe mischaracterized the bills he vetoed. Neither bill would have allowed parents to veto books or take them off the shelves, according to the bills and veto statements issued by McAuliffe. But if you have a problem with books that contain pornographic images and pornographic details, in these books, you are now accused, if the author happens to be a different color than white, you are now accused of being racist, and you are engaging in a Trumpian dog whistle. This is at the same time, gentlemen, I just want to throw this into the equation, at the same time that the Washington Post has published an op-ed that says, let me just give you the headline, those of you who are listening on audio and can't see this. Parents claim they have the right to shape their kids' school curriculum. They don't. So that's good. That's really cute. And this is co-authored by Assistant Professor of Education at the University of Massachusetts, Lowell Jack Schneider, and freelance journalist Jennifer Berkshire, who think that parents' rights is just, it cannot overstep the fundamental rights that these kids have to learn different things other than what their parents want to expose them to.
Yep. And so McAuliffe, by what he says, promotes child sexual abuse. I can say that. This book, Lawn Boy, to get real.
Yeah, please, because you've done a lot of work into...
This is what I do.
Yes,
I fight sex trafficking, and we fight the sexual exploitation of kindergartners, 10-year-olds in school.
Which is happening in the United States of America.
This book, Lawn Boy, is in the Episcopal School of Dallas. It's in Christian schools. This book, Lawn Boy, and I'll be real brief, it's about two boys, one boy coercing a boy behind a shed to do oral on the boy, and then they go back and forth and explaining oral and promoting oral sex between 12-year-old boys, right, in the classroom. When that happens, when a teacher endorses sexual activity to a child, there's a reaction in the brain of the child. They now become promiscuous by design. They become desensitized to sex. They will end up in porn. Most of them will end up being exploited. They'll get trafficked. So McAuliffe is for the sexual exploitation of children. It doesn't matter who wrote the book, black, white, pink. I don't care what your race is. The book's got to go. Okay? Nobody's talking about who wrote the book. That's irrelevant, but it's a nice little candy wrapper in a news flash to say, oh, we're banning black authors. No, we're banning pedophiles. That's who we're banning from the school system. And I want to pass it to my brother here to take it over, because we're talking about probably just banning the whole dang school system, not the book.
Well, I want to throw this in here too, Eric, because in this op-ed, I just found it rich, I'm sure you will too, that they said that overturning all major decisions to parents would, quote, risk inhibiting the ability of young people to think independently. So the idea there is that it's the school that's teaching them to think independently, Eric. It's the parents who are stifling them and indoctrinating them, Eric.
Unbelievable.
It's the complete opposite when dealing specifically with the public education system. Now, look, I know there are people that insist that because I have waited until, I don't know, I got a ring on my finger before I chose to have children, that I don't have a say.
For you.
But y'all are taxing me, so I actually got way more to say in that regards. Let me just say
That's true. You're
this.
paying the same amount.
Exactly, that you are. So you don't get to tell me not to say any damn thing, by the way. But I don't know. I find it actually insulting that people think that I would bring a child into this world, and despite me knowing what type of criminal, corrupt bullcrap that goes on in these educational systems, I think at that point it becomes child abuse if I would ever then drop my kid off at that spot. But on a serious note, going back to what we were just discussing, these people think that they have the right to your children.
Yep.
Yes.
That's just what it is. The public education system, because a lot of us grew up in it here. I did.
I did too.
We've been conditioned to believe that that way is the way that has to exist. And I had to do a lot of unlearning in that regard, certainly when I became an adult, to try to, again, unlearn a lot of that bull crap that I was taught, that social outcasts were the homeschoolers, when it turned out the homeschoolers tend to be better off than what a lot of us were. Yep. You find out that
much more life skills.
Yes, exactly. Sexual exploitation, violence. Generally, the only time a lot of people will ever experience a lot of that is in the public education system. And God forbid that you as a parent go to them and say, I don't want this there. I don't want this to be a part of their curriculum. They say to you, shut the hell up. Now, look, guys, this is a subject that I've obviously spoken very passionately about many, many times on my show. At some point, you have to look at that and how they are so protective of that institution. They always roll out the academics to say, well, it's a threat. In this case, just silence of black authors or whatever sort of nonsense, because they understand that they don't have future generations if they don't have access to their minds.
Yeah.
Particularly at the time when they're like sponges.
Yep.
So that's why they are so protective of that institution. I'm not here to reform it. I'm here to eliminate it. That way the power actually goes fully
Back to the parent.
back to the parent.
Yes.
So you take your money wherever and go. If you don't like that what that school is teaching, you go somewhere else instead of being forced to go there because, I don't know, you live near the actual district or whatever arbitrary lines that they drew. In some cases like mine, I actually stayed outside of the city in terms of the school that I was going to because, again, all these weird lines. I couldn't even go to the school that was down the street. But that's how stupid all of this is. But more importantly, you need to look between the lines of what they are actually saying here. Again, guys, you wonder, you think all these people that's tossing bricks in the Starbucks and all that, they don't, some of them don't come from conservative parents? You're crazy as all get out.
Yeah.
If you cannot, what's the old saying? Like, you can't hand your children off to Caesar and not expect them to come out as Romans. That's what we're dealing with here. I love that this last year woke a lot of parents up to how corrupt that institution was, and thank God we have enrollment, public school enrollment down further than what it's ever been. We need to pump those numbers up. I mean, down, I guess, in terms of this. But we're starting to see how people are paying more attention to that, and that's why a lot of folks are screaming at these school boards.
Your Caesar comment, brother, I don't know if you know how accurate it is. Rome fell because of sexual immorality. Okay? Here we go again.
Yeah.
They understand, the left understands, when you bring sex into the classroom, confusion of sex, gender, whatever, or promoting sex, you're going to break a society, and they will have a class that they can control like Caesar did, right?
Yep.
But so America will fall if we allow it. I say, if you're a parent and that book is in your child's school, storm the gates, okay?
Yes.
You overrun them. Take every school board back. Make that principal, quiver in his boots.
Remind them who pays their salaries. That's what I love. It's like, you guys are acting like we are not the ones who are paying for your job, and now we don't get... does your boss get a say in how you perform your job? Does your boss get a say in your daily tasks? I think that we get a say as taxpayers in what the hell you're doing in our children's schools. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Built Bar. So Built Bar sent me a package last week, and I've been enjoying it. So they just came out. Finally, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say anything last week, but I did. They have a pumpkin puff. They just came out with it. I saw the email today. It's paranormal pumpkin, which is cute because Halloween's around the corner. It is really, really good if you love their puffs. They also, I finally tried the blueberry muffin. Guys, you just have to try it.
You shared nothing from that box.
I'm sorry.
That's the one box.
To be fair, it was really small, and I wanted
about her Built Bar.
I wanted to taste them first. I need to order more. I'll get you some. You just called me out on air. Now I have to get you some.
It's the only way we get anything is to call you out on air.
That's
not true.
I am the dealer, the Built Bar dealer of the building. All right, you got to try them, though. They are protein bars, but they taste like candy bars. So they're going to be high in protein, low in calories, low in sugar. If you are doing keto diets, this fits beautifully with a keto lifestyle. You're going to feel like you're cheating. But you are not. It's not going to expand your waistline. Go to built.com. Use promo code news15. You'll save 15% off of your first order over at built, B-U-I-L-T, built.com, promo code news15. So I was going to start this segment with the update on the Biden administration announcing a new international air travel policy. But during the break, I just happened to see on my news notifications that the FDA, they had a committee that were voting on whether or not the Pfizer vaccine should be endorsed by the FDA, given to children elementary school age, so 5 to 11. They voted 17-0 with one person abstaining that they wanted to grant emergency use authorization for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine in children ages 5 to 11. Now, this comes a few days after Pfizer and BioNTech released new data showing that their vaccine was 90.7% effective at preventing symptomatic COVID in a study of children that age. We have got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Birch Gold Group. So we've discussed this on the show. Inflation is really, really high. It's right at the highs of the last couple decades, and the Democrats are pushing through another really massive spending plan. Just $3.5 trillion. Nothing to worry about, all right? But there is. So if you're freaked out about the impact this additional spending is going to have on already high inflation, you got to protect your savings. You can diversify your savings into physical gold and silver with Birch Gold Group. This is the company that I recommend for precious metals. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They've got a ton of 5-star reviews, thousands of satisfied customers. They can help you protect your hard-earned savings. All right, thanks to a little-known section of the IRS tax code, you can legally move your IRA or 401k into precious metals. You're not going to have any tax implications or penalties. You got to get started now with a tax-sheltered account. Request a free info kit from Birch Gold. You can text the word Y, that's WHY, to 989898. You got to do it, you guys. I'm telling you, the Biden administration is running everything in the ground. You really want to diversify right now. You can text Y to 989898. Joe Biden yesterday, very cute. He was talking to children, which is good because they are about like his same IQ level. So he really was talking to like just one of his peers at this point, was at an elementary school in North Plainfield, New Jersey, full of children that he can't wait to inject with his vaccine. But he spoke to them about the press always following him around and asking him questions and how he always tries to avoid answering them. Just such a cute, cute moment. Let's watch.
You know, when you're president, see all these people here? They're with you all the time. They get to ask you all kinds of questions, and you try to figure out how you can avoid answering them sometimes.
Yeah, so you can do that by like hiding out in your basement, always traveling back to Delaware when your country is in crisis. You can have your press secretary constantly dodge questions and not give truthful answers. The list goes on, but I do think if there's one thing that Joe Biden has mastered, it is avoiding questions from the press. He's pretty good at that.
He has a talent, and to forget, the forgetting talent,
Yes.
and but
I don't know if he's good at that so much as just his brain
here's
won't
the deal.
allow him to.
Here's the deal. He wants to inject the children. He sniffs the children. Okay, okay, and now he's literally.
You can't do that while I'm drinking my
And
water.
now he's literally indoctrinating the children. Tell them, run away from questions. That's incredible leadership. It is A+ leadership, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. That's really what you want in your president is someone who's like, yeah, well, my main goal is just to avoid taking responsibility and answering questions from free press. So do we really have a free press at all?
No, you don't. But yeah, that is kind of a bizarre thing that you got this guy who's being perpetuated as the big leader of the free world. First thing, I don't know if it was the first or the last thing, but one of the things that he's telling them is that you see all these people, I run away from my problems. I try. That's what I do. And it's like, yeah, man, I don't know if that's something that you want to be telling youngsters, specifically at that age. That's not really conducive to living a good life. But maybe for him, it's working very well. He does a lot. We see it all the time. Turn his back immediately on the press, and he doesn't take answers, stuff that previous presidents have been very criticized of. Hell, when the last one would talk to him and he made fun of him, they really didn't like that. But specifically this one, they don't seem, well, they sometimes have an issue with it. They're not as aggressive as
Peter
Uh,
I think
Ducey,
they should
maybe,
be. Yeah,
the only one.
Yeah, that's true. We'll have an issue, but the press secretary, Jen Psaki, seems to take field to all these questions, and she's winging it half the time up there anyway, being very, very sassy. Look, man, this is representative of the American government right now. So I couldn't think of a better person to serve as the president, considering that, because he's a representation of how stupid this whole situation is. That's why it needs to be eliminated.
That's well said.
That's a great point. That's a great point. All right, we've got about another minute here, so let me circle back. I'd like to circle back now to the international air travel policy really quickly, just to give you guys a good idea of how far down clown world we are living. You will have to, foreign national air travelers to the United States will be required to be fully vaccinated and provide proof of vaccination status prior to boarding an airplane. I I do love that this little picture, it says the new U.S. international air travel policy is consistent across the globe and also guided by public health. What the hell does that mean, guided by public health?
Because of reasons. That's basically what that means.
Guided by public health. Like if you actually dissect each of those words, public health what? Public health policies? Public health what? Cases?
It means
guided by public health.
Like
it's
science.
just a keyword, right? I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. I actually can see the numbers of how many audio podcast downloads this has. I can see how many of you are viewing this on YouTube. And I got to tell you, there are a lot of you who have not yet gone to wherever you're listening to this right now. If you're listening to the audio podcast, you already have it pulled up. All right. Just click the 5 stars. Rate us 5 stars. We deserve no less. Give us a nice review because you might see it read live on air like the one today from Ashley Monroe, who says, 5 stars, my new BFFs. My husband introduced me to the show via text saying, I found your new best friends. And he was right. So much so that I get offended when you break for commercial and then keep talking till your voices fade and the ads start. It feels like a Friends episode, the one where Rachel doesn't smoke but her colleagues do, and she feels left out of the smoke break conversation. In all seriousness, we love y'all. Thanks for being a breath of fresh conservative air. I love that. Thank you so much for watching and listening, Ashley. We feel like we are your best friends as well. I will say, though, sometimes it's good that they actually fade our voices and you don't get all of the conversation because that is what is keeping us on YouTube and those other places where we would definitely be banned. You should have heard us today. I was like, Rah! as soon as it went off. But thank you guys so much. Make sure to get your reviews in. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here as always, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.